Channel 23, The Faces of Carlsbad. And we're coming today from the beautiful Blue House Cafe. It's a very lovely day. And our program, by the way, on Channel 23 is sponsored by Intrepid Potash, and we are so thankful that they're around helping us. And today we have a very interesting duo, I might say. A very lovely lady and, well, actually, my friend sitting next to me is also a lady. So we got two lovely ladies. And I want to introduce to you Dr. Kim Lark. Kim, and I'll let you introduce my girlfriend here.
This is Boot. She's a 10-year-old border collie, and she's a certified FEMA disaster dog.
And we're going to get to that shortly. This is very interesting, I'll tell you. Well, let's start with you first, Dr. Lark. And if I call you Kim, it's because I've known you through the years.
That's quite all right.
And I don't want to impress people that I know everybody in town, because I don't, but I do know you. Anyway, tell us where you were born, where you grew up, and how you got started in the field of medicine.
Well, I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, actually Gates Mills, a suburb. Then I went to college in northern Vermont, and my first degree is actually in ski resort management.
Wait a minute, just stop right there. You were born in Cleveland, Ohio.
Yes, sir.
I was born in Wadsworth, Ohio, 35 miles south of where you were born.
Uh-huh.
Isn't that amazing?
Yes, it is.
And your first class in Vermont was in ski?
I have a Bachelor's of Science degree in ski resort management and business administration.
Wow, what a combination.
And I love to ski. And you know how college students are. They really don't have a lot of excess money for lift tickets. So to be able to be on the ski patrol up there and ski free, I had to have advanced first aid. Well, I went through the advanced first aid course and absolutely loved it. And they invited me to take the emergency medical technician class. And I took that and ended up scoring the top in the state as an EMT.
Wow.
And here I was about ready to graduate with my degree in ski resort management, and I realized I made a mistake.
Uh-oh.
So anyway, I graduated with my degree in ski resort management, and they weren't using paramedics up in Vermont. So I moved to Florida and went through the paramedic program down there and got a job working in Naples, Florida as a paramedic.
Naples, Florida, that's on the west coast, isn't it? Naples?
Yes, it is. It's below Fort Myers.
Right.
And it's right on the ocean, and they has a very big county, and we covered about halfway out into the Everglades. And
oh my goodness.
Quite a diverse population.
Yes.
It covered Immokalee, which was migrant farm workers, and then it also covered the beaches of Naples, Florida.
Oh, what a change, though, from Ohio to Vermont in the ski country down to warm and balmy Florida.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It's amazing. And then what happened?
Well, one night I got a call down to Naples for another district. One of the ambulances was out on a call, and so they had to have somebody come in, and we got called to a gentleman who was unconscious. And so it took us a little bit longer to get there because we were coming from a different zone, and I came in, Boot, sit. And this gentleman was awake and alert by the time I got there, and the women who were his caretakers said, well, we don't know what happened to Mr. Taylor, but all of a sudden he kind of slumped over and started slurring his speech and became unresponsive for a few minutes. And then he came to, but he wasn't quite right. By the time I got there, he was fully alert. He refused to be transported to the hospital.
Oh,
and I told him, I said, I thought he probably had a mini stroke, and the next one could be a permanent stroke with neurological deficits. Still didn't want to go to the hospital. I did an EKG. I didn't like the looks of that. But again, I said I didn't know what his normal EKG looked like. Yeah. Again, finally he refused, and he signed the back of my trip ticket against medical advice, he's not taking transport to Naples. And so I went home that night and everything, and the next morning before I got off of work, I get a call from this attorney, and he said he wanted to talk to me about Mr. Taylor. And I thought, oh my gosh. I said, do I need to get an attorney? I thought maybe something happened to him in the middle of the night. And he said, no, it's okay, just come in. So I came into this gentleman's office, and he looked at me and he said, I don't know what you did for Mr. Taylor, but he would like to provide you with the opportunity to go to the medical school of your choice at his expense.
My goodness. You must have been terrific that night.
Well, I kind of asked him, I said, why me? And he said, well, you're the first person who really sat down and took the time to explain what you were doing, why you wanted me to go to the hospital. And I think that you probably would make a good doctor if you'd like to do that. And I'm like, well, I really kind of realized that I enjoyed medicine more than I enjoyed my previous degree.
Yeah.
And
you just had a special knack for it.
yes, sir.
And
Yes,
he
sir.
realized that. Oh,
Yeah.
that's like rolling 3 7s in a row.
Yes, sir, it is. And as you can imagine, my first degree is not heavy in the math and sciences, so I found myself in Chemistry 101
Oh dear. Oh dear.
at age 30,
Yeah.
and so,
Well, that was wonderful, though. What a wonderful way to. You were enthusiastic to begin with,
yes, sir,
and then to have this happen.
yeah.
So where did you do your medical training then?
I was accepted at Nova Southeastern University in North Miami Beach, Florida.
So you really had not only going to university, but you could go out and look at that beautiful ocean every day.
Yes, sir. It was a nice place to go to medical school. I did study at the beach on the weekends. People said, oh, how could you do that? And I said, well, I've been in the classroom all week long.
Yeah.
I took my books and paid attention and read, and then I'd get up and I'd go for a swim in the ocean, and I'd come back and I'd study again. So I did study at the beach.
At the beach.
Yes, sir.
And then when you graduated, of course, you became a doctor.
Yes, sir.
And where did you first serve as a physician?
I did my internship and my residency at a hospital in Miami Beach. It's Palmetto General. It's a very large hospital, over 700 doctors on staff.
You're kidding.
No,
700 doctors.
Yes, sir. It was big.
Gosh.
And then I worked my first year with a doctor who I'd kind of moonlighted with during my internship and residency, and I worked with him. He had a family practice for 1 year. And after 1 year, I got tired of the city. I got tired of the traffic, and we were going to 4 or 5 different hospitals, and I was spending a lot of time in my car. I'd leave my house at 6 a.m. in the morning and not get home until 10 or 11 o'clock at night, and I said, I can't do this. I got interested in the search and rescue training just when I finished medical school. I got a chocolate lab and started training him to do this FEMA disaster work. And
What got you interested in that, by the way?
well, I had a friend who I went to college with in Vermont. She moved to Washington State, and she started the avalanche dog program up there. And I had watched her and met her dog and saw what they were doing and realized I really wanted to do this. And I really didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have any help or anything, and I found a dog that I liked, a chocolate lab, and just went and bought the lab and started doing puppy runaways, not knowing what I was doing, and that dog was a natural.
Now, by puppy runaways, what exactly does that mean?
Hide and seek.
Hide and seek.
Yes, sir. Somebody holds the dog, and you have the dog's favorite toy, and you run and hide, and the person who's holding your dog releases the dog and says, search. And once that dog finds you, you play with the dog. You make it the best thing that's ever happened. You whoop it up, we say scream like a valley girl. You know, really play, 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 play.
Well, you had a love affair with animals from the beginning.
Yes, sir.
And my daughter Ann, who's a doctor, a veterinarian doctor down in Orlando, Florida, she was almost just like you. It's almost the same story. And she fell in love with animals at a young age.
Yeah.
And in the Orlando area, she would go out and help the people who were poor, who had animals living in the woods. She gave them food and brought the shots that they needed. And so you two are almost like sisters here.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
But you've had some happy times with this business and some sad times, haven't you?
Yes, sir. It's just part of the job. And Boot's mother and I, Sage, were deployed to the Pentagon after 9/11.
Yeah.
And we were there for a week.
That's where one of the airliners was forced to crash into the building, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was it was quite the deployment. Unfortunately, there were no survivors. That's what these dogs are trained to do, is find people who are trapped in buildings after they collapsed, whether it's man-made disaster like the Pentagon or it's earthquake or tornado. So, but there was unfortunately nobody alive in the Pentagon to find, but we did search the rubble, and we did find some people who perished during that attack.
Well, it's bad enough to be called into a situation like that, but then to have to go down there and actually see some of these people after the crash has to be very, very shaking experience for you, I'm sure.
Yeah, I don't think it's something that you ever forget. It's just part of the job. Fortunately, it doesn't affect me like it does some people. Some people can do this job and some people can't. I think my medical training and having been through the cadaver lab in medical school and seen people in the hospital, I'm able to deal with it and just do the job that I need to do. And
well, what drew you to the southwestern part of the United States?
well, I had lived in Miami, and I had started that chocolate lab as a search dog there, and it was just getting harder and harder to train him in the city. There's not that much area, and I like the outdoors. I also love to ski and ride horses, and I wanted out of the city and I wanted west, you know. And I called a recruiter and said, I need to be someplace where I'm not going to freeze to death for the winter, and but I want to be able to ski within a couple hours. And by the end of that week, the recruiter said, I think I found just the place for you. And then they flew me out here, and they said, you know, make sure you wear your best suit and tell them why you want to come to Carlsbad. And I said, well, if you could take a picture outside of my Jeep right now, they wouldn't ask me another question, because I was on I-95 heading north, and it's 6 lanes of traffic.
Oh my gosh.
And it was bumper to bumper. And it was just miserable. It was just not the kind of life that I wanted to live.
No.
And I came out here, and the people of Carlsbad were so nice and so friendly, and it's not crowded, and there's no noise or traffic, and there was a need. Some of the elderly doctors were retiring, and they needed family practitioners, and they helped me start the business here in Carlsbad.
Oh, yeah. And the dog now, Boot, or Boot's mother,
Yes, Sage.
Sage, when you would make these journeys, for example, the skiing journey, would they go with you?
Yes, they did. In fact, Boot has also done some work in training as an avalanche dog. We went to a program up in Utah, and so she has had some work in Utah and as well in Colorado. And it's really not that much difference. Whether you're buried under concrete rubble or you're buried under snow, they're still looking for a person that is not visible but that they can catch their scent. And
Oh, yes.
actually, the dogs really like the avalanche work because they get to dig.
And they love to dig.
Yes, sir, they do.
Yeah, I knew that. Well, now, Boot and her mother Sage,
Yes, sir.
which one was the better of the two in finding people that they were looking for? Or are they both talented in the same level?
They're both talented in the same level. Border Collies are really a very high drive dog, meaning that they need to be busy. They're very enthusiastic about work and just want to do the job. And I have to say that they are both very good at what they did.
Yeah.
And yes, every dog has its strong points or its weak points, but as far as the two of them, they're very, very similar. I see a lot of similar traits between the two.
Now, is Sage still around?
Sage is, but she is retired. She ended up having a cancer, and we think it was because of her deployment at the Pentagon.
Oh, yes.
So she's had to have some chemotherapy, and she is quite a bit older. She's now 12 or almost 13 years old, so she's not working right now.
Yeah. And it's nice to be retired.
Yeah.
And let the young ones go on.
Yes.
Well, in the few moments we have left, Kim, I'd like to say goodbye to this beautiful Boot again, and not just have her give me a kiss, but I'll give her a kiss too. Is that all right with you?
Oh, you bet.
Yeah, we can do that.
Come here, Scoots. Booty, come on. Can you sit? That's a good girl.
What a
Okay.
beautiful dog. And
Can
she-
you say hello?
Can I
Good
give you a
girl.
kiss?
Yeah.
Oh, boy,
good
that was a good
girl. Yeah. Nice job,
Oh,
Scooties.
what a beautiful
Yeah.
animal.
Good
Well, we're
girl.
so glad that you're here in Carlsbad, and you're going to continue training the dog rescue out at the fire, what do they call that?
The Permian Basin.
Permian Basin
Yeah.
area, right.
Uh-huh.
And it's, what do you train out there every month or so? Or?
Actually, no. In fact, we were there this morning, and we will be out there again tomorrow morning. This time of year, it's a little bit difficult because we have to go very early. It gets a
Yeah.
little too hot for
Yeah,
the dogs.
Yeah, yeah.
But we train just about every weekend.
Oh.
And we have some people here who have new dogs that they are starting, and I just imported two new dogs from Poland.
From Poland?
Yes, sir.
Oh my gosh. Now, do you have to speak Polish to them? Do you some key words in Polish?
No, but obviously it was a little bit of adjustment for them to come here. They're adjusting very well, and no, I speak just a little bit of German, but the Polish was rather difficult.
Well, the reason I brought that up is because the police dogs we
Yes.
have here, they speak the Czech language, and the
yeah.
officers have to speak in the Czech language to them.
For their commands, yeah.
Yes, and I found that very fascinating.
Uh-huh.
And the only Czech word I know is my grandfather was born in Cleveland, Ohio, of Czech parents, and it's krejci, which means tailor. And that's the only word I would say krejci, and the dog would just look at me. It's strangely.
Yeah.
Anyway, Kim, I want to thank you for being our
Thank you
guest
for-
today. It was a real pleasure, and I want to wish both you and also Boots' mother
Sage.
the very best.
Yes,
Sage, the very,
me too.
very best. And hey, beautiful. You get plenty to eat tonight, okay? Oh, I think so. On behalf of Channel 23, say goodbye to Channel 23. We'll see you soon.